Today's topic is time versus money and how infinite banking buys back both. Okay. So what's more valuable, time or money? If you had to choose one, what would it be? And, I wish there was a way to do a poll, but I don't think there really is. But I'll kind of explain it for me is, growing up in scarcity, working at a casket factory at 13 years old and seeing Dwayne McIntyre build wealth. And I was, some of the things that struck me was this wasn't that big of a company. I mean, it didn't seem like it. Obviously, it was profitable, but if there were 30 employees, I'd be shocked. Excuse me. But he was living in Palos Verdes, and to me, that was the definition of being wealthy. And when I looked at the owner of the business, Dwayne, and I looked at the workers in the business, me and everybody else, he was exchanging other people's time for money. We were exchanging our time for money. Then when I became a financial planner and I built a firm and had 700 million under assets, and I realized Wall Street's deception is Wall Street and the banks are using other people's money to make money, right? So here's Dwayne McIntyre using other people's time. Here's Wall Street and the banks using other people's money. And it just made me realize that wealthy people don't trade time for money and they don't use their own money. If wealthy don't trade time for money, they make money work for them. Infinite banking, IBC, is the tool that lets you do the same. And all of the real estate investors that I talked to, I was surprised at how many people at this conference. I always think people have heard of infinite banking and that they just haven't been explained it the way that they need to hear it to do it or to see the power of it or, something, or they think it's to pay off their cars and stuff like that. But a lot of people hadn't heard of it. And every one of these people had recently broken away. When I say recently, in the last 10 to 20 years or like 3 years, broken away from their 9-to-5 W-2 job. So problem when you're, the great illusion, so to speak, is trading time for money. Is we're taught that that's what we have to do. And we should just get something where our time is more valuable. We are going to create this education, this skill, this knowledge where our time is more valuable, but we're still going to trade our time. Well, that's a lot of pressure, right? I mean, like, hey, you got to become a doctor. Hey, you got to become something else, an engineer. I drove back to the airport with the car full of engineers. Problem is that system is designed to keep you working for money instead of making money work for you. And the people that do it, the people that say, I'm not going to do that. I don't care about that. I'm going to go do this other thing. I think sometimes society thinks they're crazy, right? Like, what are you talking about? You're not going to go to school. You're going to do this. But people really believe that myth, saving for retirement, working 40 plus years and hoping they don't run out of money. If you think about a coin having three sides, that would be the side that people would say, that's the head side. That's where you make it, right? And then, banks, employers, Wall Street, they benefit from that system, not you. You're benefiting them. You're the OPT in their other people's time. So then realize, hey, I got to do something different. And then you start thinking of other people's money and other people's time. But then you're on the tails side of the coin. But where the real magic is in the edge of the coin, right? That's where very few people live. They have assets that provide income and they're not self-employed, right? They are true business owners where the business isn't running them. By the way, this is a transition. So if you're right in the middle of being self-employed, I get it, right? It's a transition. But our goal is to be on the edge of the coin where we control the banking, where we control other people's time, other people's money. PT plus OPM equals freedom, people's time. If other people are willing to exchange time for money, then we'll let them exchange the time for money. By the way, a lot of people can't think the way the people in this community and on this program, the way they think. Not like job is not that. I mean, we can live by example. Jesus lived by example. He didn't go banging people's foreheads on, here's the information. I'm God. Listen to me. He just lived by example. That's what we have to do. And maybe it'll inspire somebody to stop doing that. But I think sometimes we get that syndrome where we think we can save people from that part of it. But if they want to work for us, then let's be fair with them, hire good people, pay them more, and give them an opportunity to be an owner someday of some, to some degree. The realities of time versus money is time is finite and money is infinite. That's simple. And trading hours or dollars is a losing game because even our society says you can't do that forever. You're going to quote, retire. The definition of retire is being taken out of service. So one of the things, and we've talked about this a lot, is healthy focus on cash flow, not accumulation. If you had assets bringing in $500,000, $1 million, $2 million, whatever your dream is, would you care how much they were worth? No, you care about the cash flow. And then you start caring about how much taxes do I have to pay on that cash flow. So the real game is leveraging other people's time. Sorry, I keep saying this backwards. The way that we kind of say it at Create Tailwind now, this is like a new thing for us, and we're building presentations around this because it's so important. The real game is leverage other people's money plus OPM, other people's money, plus OPT, other people's time equals freedom. If we don't have to exchange our money or our time for cash flow, well then boom, right? What is infinite banking, just for somebody who might be new on here? And I'm just going to give you like just a couple of highlights, okay? It's a system of being your own banker using a properly structured whole life policy, not investing in insurance. And that's somebody said to me, well, how can you put in $1 and have $1.50 at year 10? Well, it's because you have all these other dollars in there, all these other premiums. You're not getting 50% on your money. You're getting like 4 or 5% on your money or 7% on your money in higher interest rate environments where the dividends are higher. That's not what matters. What matters is we're using it as a cash flow system. So all that money that you're earning money on, it's not, we're collateralizing it. We're using other people's money to go make money and while our money's earning dividends. So it's not about insurance, investing in insurance. It's about creating a system to control your cash flow. Now, again, all these things are the edge of the coin. So why doesn't everybody do this? Because it's the edge of the coin. Why doesn't everybody teach this? Because it's the edge of the coin. The majority's never been right about anything. Okay, but in infinite banking, you get liquidity, control, uninterrupted compounding, something banks on Wall Street never offer you, never will. How do you buy back your time? A great book in Cantrell is Buy Back Your Time, right? And I'll give you an example of buying back your time. This is a dumb one. I get a text from the resort that there's another group of people that are flying in. Flight is late, and my flight got in at noon in Spokane. Flight's getting in at 1:30. And now they're charging me $50 to take me in the Tahoe from the airport to the resort. It's like 40 minutes. The guy says, so we're going to have to wait for them, and then I'll take you. Now, first of all, that was not good customer service. Number two is after they get their bags, everything else, I'm going to wait 2 hours in time. And so I looked up Uber, $89. Let's just call it $100. $100 versus 50, where it was 2 minutes away. My time is worth that. Right. So I'm like, boom. So I texted him back, hey, I don't need your ride 2 hours from now. Now, first of all, have two different Tahoes. Okay. So instead of saving money at the bank, where the bank's going to go use it to make money, you store money in your own banking system where the insurance company has to give you their money to go make money. You borrow against your cash value instead of withdrawing, keeping your money compounding while you deploy it. Now think about that. Keeping your money compounding while you deploy it. And then you use other people's money to buy assets and like from the seller to buy businesses, real estate, SaaS, intellectual property, whatever it is, right? And here's another thing that is interesting on the conference is all of these people talked about how they got, not all of them, but most of them talked about how they got into real estate with very little money down, and how everybody was seller financing. Right. And so if your brain just said there's this false belief, if it popped into your head and said people don't want to do seller financing, that's not true. Okay. That's a false belief. Somebody taught you that or you read that somewhere. and you got to get rid of it. So you use other people's money. And then unlike traditional investments, your money isn't locked up. It's always working and growing. So why this gives you financial freedom is you get cash flow without selling your time. You don't have to work a job. Even whether you hate it or love it, it doesn't matter, or hope the stock market doesn't crash before retirement. How many people are sitting there watching the stock market go down and they're worried? Now, the smart ones, I'll admit, the smart ones are licking their chops because what goes down has to go back up. Is it going to go back up? Absolutely, it's going to go back up. They're twisting the president's words when he says, hey, we might have a little downturn in the economy while we're doing this, but we're going to have so much money coming in, it's crazy, right? So you can build wealth without being chained to 9 to 5, okay? So remember, buy assets, don't chain yourself to them. Don't be that self-employed that's chaining yourself. You just got a different employer. You are the employer now, and then you're working. But in infinite banking, your money works for you forever. Think about that. Instead of you showing up at job 8 to 5, 9 to 5, your money does that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now, while you're sleeping, you're making money. In fact, I think there's a book for that. The real world example, I've got lots of them. I mean, I've talked about John Stevens, and I've got hundreds of stories like that. It just happens to be like a real life All-American story. And so like when Nelson would tell me, make this as simple as possible, Nelson never bragged about what he was doing. So I always kind of like tend to shy away from that to some degree. But he used infinite banking to buy businesses, not just invest in stocks. That's what I did when I was a financial planner. And, did I acquire 30 businesses overnight? No, but acquired those businesses without being owned by them, right? Now, some of them in the beginning, I was owned by them. But now I have control over my time while my cash flow continues. And I want everyone on this show and everyone in this community to feel that, where this came in. Hey, this came in. And what's funny is to the point where at the end of the year, when everybody wants to take this income, and I'm like, no, I don't want to take that income. So I'm not saying it doesn't come without some problems, but I have control over my time and cash flow continues. Now think about that. You could have control over your time, do what you want to do when you want to do it, but the cash flow doesn't stop. Well, how hard would you work to learn how to do that? That's our whole purpose at Create Tailwind, right? Infinite banking makes that easier. So why this is different is, what does Wall Street want? They want your money locked up. What does the bank want? The bank wants your money so they can lend it back to you. It's a shell game, right? And you're like, well, I know where the money is. And then with IBC, you own the system, so you're the owner. And I'm excited to tell you in the next, I'm going to say 45 days, ownership. My next book is coming out, and how we shift our mindset to being an owner. And one of the guys that was financially independent before 30, I think he was 29, but who cares, right? And it wasn't like he was bringing in millions of dollars. He was financially independent for his lifestyle, right? His assets are providing his lifestyle. He's a big hunter. He lives in the West, and that's his lifestyle. But he's still financially independent. Does that mean he's going to stop and doesn't want his lifestyle to grow? I don't know. You can talk about that. But these people did this very quickly, and they understood that what they talked about, every single person talked about mindset, shifting your mindset. So, okay, so here's what I would say. We've been talking about like action steps in the last few weeks. I would say our call to action today is take control of time and money, right? And that mindset shift, I'm going to learn how to do this. I'm going to make it happen. And stop. We got to stop thinking like a consumer, start thinking like the bank or an owner, right? Not the customer of the bank, but the owner of the bank. We got to buy assets, not liabilities. And saving, cash flow, not savings. Every time that I hear somebody, well, the way that you become financially independent is you save up money. I'm like, no. Okay. I mean, you could save up some money to get started, okay, maybe, but you can go out there and find that too. You can, all kinds of people that want to. If you got a great idea, bring it to me, okay, because you're willing to put your time in it, bring it to me. I'll help you, okay? So what would I do if I didn't know anything about this, right? I'm just starting from scratch. First thing I'd do is I'd learn about infinite banking, because I got to know how to control the cash flow. I got to understand that leverage. I got to understand the power of that. And then start thinking about cash flow and leverage, not accumulation. Get accumulation out of your head. How much money do you have in your 401k? How much money do you have in the bank? How much money? Doesn't matter. Cash flow. And then ask yourself a simple question. How can I get my money working for me today? Those are the three things, right? Is there more to it? Absolutely, there's more to it. But I'm trying to make it simple. If you could just take those three actions, learn about infinite banking, stop thinking about accumulation and start thinking about leverage and cash flow, and just ask yourself, how do I start getting my money to work for me today? And just remember, you can always make more money, but you can't make more time. And the only way to win is stop trading one for the other. Infinite banking is how you do that. It's your ledger, it's your system. And it's absolutely the way to get started. Yeah, Nate. So I'm just going to go back to some of the comments and see if we have any questions. So Nathan says, it's amazing how many people still haven't heard about it. I know, Nathan, I was shocked, honestly. I mean, I had Nick there, and, Nick's scheduling appointments with people and stuff. And I'm like, wow, this is amazing that people don't know anything really about it. Matt said, retire equals expire. That's right. That retire equals expire. I like that, Matt. I might model that or steal that. In Dwayne, multiple streams of income. Exactly. And the reason that you do that, Dwayne, is hey, I can't pick 10 out of 10. I can pick 8 out of 10. I wish I was a baseball player that could hit 800, but I can't baseball even back in the best days. But 800 you can pick. Why? Because you have tools, you have due diligence, you have mentors, you have other people that can help you, like, pick 8 out of 10. Guess what? You don't have to be 8 out of 10. You could be 7 out of 10. Because the 3 or the 2 that aren't great, they're not going to be $100,000 in an investment that goes to zero. It's not going to be that. It's just not going to be as good as you think, or it's not going to make money, or it's going to struggle for a while, whatever it is. Nathan said, great principle from the richest man in Babylon. Absolutely. The biggest thing in the richest man in Babylon, there's a lesson. It's not in the tenants. All of his friends were saying, what are you doing? Because you're doing something different than us. Majority was changing time for money, doing it that way. He was doing it different. That's a great lesson in there. And Angela is exactly right. We talk ourselves out of its validity because everybody focuses on the life insurance contract. You're doing what with a life insurance contract? How much money are you putting in there? I'm not investing it. I'll wrap it up with this. I'm not investing in life insurance. I'm using life insurance as a tool to use other people's time, other people's money to create freedom for me and my family. And you have that, and you're 59 or you're 50 or you're 40 or you're 80. You want to live forever, right? Because if money wasn't an issue, well then, hey, Angela, you got to have your health, right? But then, okay, you got money, you got health. When do you want that to stop? You don't, right? You want by the way, those go hand in hand. Hand in hand is, again, getting up this morning, and I just had my food. Like, I'm so happy to have my food back. Never thought I would feel like that, Angela. Like having my good food and knowing the food that I'm eating at this resort probably isn't that good. I felt crummy. My stomach didn't feel great last night. And this morning, I got up, I had my food. I came home, I had my 50-gram protein shake that I make. Just had right before this cottage cheese and chicken thighs. And I mean, I'm happy. Body and my brain is happy that I'm eating my food. So health and wealth, it all goes together. And when you got all of that, when you're not exchanging time for money and you're using other people's money for your freedom, other people's time for your freedom, and the first things you got to do is you have to put in the time to be healthy, and then you want to live forever. Well, thank you all. That was valuable. Again, it's just planting that seed. I don't expect you to do this like night, and it won't happen overnight, but you'd be amazed at what happens when you build momentum. And just remember this today. This is the thing that bots are energy. Energy takes 17 seconds to attract like energy. If you have a negative thoughts, another one's coming in 17 seconds. Unless you interrupt that energy, the only way to destroy negative energy or negative thoughts is positive energy or positive thoughts. And that's why prayer and affirmations and all of that is just, it's vital. Thank you guys very much for being here. Thanks for being part of this community, and Godspeed. We'll see you next week.